Okay. Welcome. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Maureen. You
We've
might
just
want to
been,
fill everybody in why we're chuckling.
yeah, we've been having some technical difficulties with getting today's webinar rolling. And so we are, nothing's going to stop Lori from giving all this great value to her listeners. And so we're doing things a little bit different today. And we're just going to pre-record this webinar so that all of you can watch it on demand at your leisure, which is a win-win for everybody. So thanks so much, Lori, for your patience as we got through all of that technological hurdle. We are here
Oh,
to
thank
talk
you.
about the monumental truth about respect in the workplace today. And this is part 3 of Lori's 4-part series in this webinar series on grit. And so, Lori, I'd love for you to spend just a couple minutes talking about your grit model and what makes it different.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Maureen, and thanks everybody for joining us. And I know some of you know a little bit about the grit model, but I'm going to share it again. There's a lot of new folks that have signed on, and it's good to have a reminder because there is an important distinction between just the meaning of the word grit, which is really awesome, and we need it. We need that passion, perseverance, don't give up, stick with itness, and but we also need with that generosity, respect, integrity, and truth. Because what I was noticing with my work over the years in workplaces is that there were, quite a few people, owners, leaders at the top, even mid-management that had grit, but they'd leave other people in the dust. And so my team and I started to look at, how can people have that grittiness, but yet make sure that the team is, it's a team kind of approach. It's more community based. It's not just me. I'm, pushing everybody out of my way, but damn it, I'm gonna, make it to the end. So grit is an acronym that stands for generosity, respect, integrity, and truth. But it's more than just an acronym. It's a roadmap for, it helps us to lead our own lives or lead our teams by looking first at our truth. So we start with truth because that is the core. And we work our way back to generosity because what we're looking for in grit is that, stick with it, perseverance, keep going and be able to keep giving in a way that is more natural and genuine, and again, includes other people. So we start with truth, and then we align to our truth through integrity, and in that comes trust, which isn't really in the grit model itself, but that's an important component of
Right.
truth plus integrity. And then it goes to respect, and we're already showing self-respect if we know ourselves, accept ourselves, and then align to ourselves. And then we'll be able to respect others and give authentically without sacrificing ourselves. So this month's blog or webinar is all about respect.
Yeah.
And so I think that's enough probably on grit.
Yeah.
I'll pass it
Yeah.
back over to you.
Great. Thanks for that description. And I visualized when you were talking about that, really the difference between driving through, plowing through like a train through your life and your workplace and everything versus like walking through a peaceful meadow where,
Yeah.
not to be so cliche about it, but like where everybody's jolly, walking hand in hand. But truly, I mean, that's the difference and what I can kind of see.
Yeah, it's like the bull in the china shop.
Right.
It's like, bam, I'm going to get through, but look at all the collateral damage that's happened. And then later, sure, I had grit, but I took people out on the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. What happened when I looked behind me? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got some great questions queued up for you today. And I'd love to jump right into self-respect. So I know that you talk about that a lot. You mentioned it just now when you were talking about the grit model and the importance of that. So give us some tips. How does one practice self-respect?
Yeah, and yeah, I did touch on it real quickly, showing that, if we know our truth, and that's why it's so important to work on that and accept ourselves. and then we set out to take actions that align to our truth, we're already showing self-respect. So the actions of aligning to your truth, that is the key to showing self-respect. It's like, I know that if I don't get enough sleep, I'm going to be, not so nice.
Mhm.
I know that I'm not going to be on my A game. I know that I need sleep. So if I don't align my behavior to that, then I'm not showing self-respect to myself.
Mhm.
It's I think a lot of people have heard, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And,
Right.
when the flight attendant says that, and I've told the story a few times. The first time that I heard her say it, when I was traveling with my daughter when she was 2 at the time, that I really stopped and listened. Admittedly hadn't listened before that too much, but that I really didn't. I was like, yeah. But when my daughter's sitting there next to me, it's this little kid, and they're telling me I have to put it on me first, it hit me. It was like, wow, I think I would have wanted to reach over and help her first, but what good is that? We know
Right.
that. And if you think about the way the flight attendant says it, you must do it. You've got to do it. It's not an option. Yeah, you should do it. No, you got to do it, and it's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing. It's like, if you're not taking care of yourself first, then there's no way you're going to take care of other people. So self-respect and tips for that is knowing what is really important to you, to stay healthy, to stay energized, to stay focused. And then that's the truth part, and then aligning your behavior to that. So for me, for example, I've got to make sure that I know my top 3 priorities for the day. I know if a lot of travel is coming up, I know some things are going to slide, but what are
Yeah.
the 1 or 2 or even 3 things, if I can make sure that I keep doing on a consistent basis so
Yeah.
that I maintain? I know I'll get off track a little bit, because as we learned in integrity, it's not about being perfect. It's not about
Mhm.
being that unattainable definition of perfection.
Right.
It's about showing up and doing your best, and keep going. And I teach this stuff, and I have for many, many years, but I still find myself not respecting myself at times, and then it's like, oh, I have
Yeah.
learned to be aware much more quickly.
Mhm.
And then, I see that I'm off track a little bit, then I can get on track much more quickly than I used to. So that's really important for people to keep in mind, because it's not always about being this, oh, I've got to make sure I wake up every morning at the same exact time and do this exact thing. And it's not. Life gets crazy, life gets in the way, and leaders, managers especially, we're juggling all kinds of things, and
Right.
we've got to make sure that we are recharging our battery. And that's really what it's about, because if our battery's recharged, then we can come in every single day knowing in priority order what is most important to, what's got to happen today that's going to affect this week, this month, this year, our
Yeah.
grander goals. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how you talk about that in terms of like where everything is just flowing. When you have that alignment to your truth and what it is that you really want to do, that your work is able to fall in line as a result of that. And so that,
So true.
yeah, that's what's kind of coming to mind when you're talking about that. And we were just talking about that last week too. We were working on one of your blog posts together, and you said something about
Right.
getting adequate sleep. And I said, I failed on that
Yes.
this week, and I felt it. And so it's so true. That sleep is an important one for me as well.
Yeah.
You talk about assumptions in your book, Leading with Grit. What can a person do to not let their own assumptions get in the way?
Yeah. Yeah. And I put that under respect, because it's so important that we realize we respect ourselves, we respect other situations, we respect that we don't know someone else's truth. We
Mm-hmm.
don't know the whole story. So in context of, making assumptions, it's like that. It's like we've got to make sure that we realize first that we're making an assumption. So often people are just oblivious that they're even doing it. I know this happened.
Mm.
I know he, failed to get that report done for this reason,
Right.
and we're not even stopping for a second and going, okay, I wonder if this is what happened. Do
Hmm.
I need more information? Do I need to? So that's the first thing. It's about being aware of it. And then asking yourself, do I wonder? I like to change from I know to I wonder. I wonder if this is the case. Sometimes it's just a matter of wait and watch
Yeah,
too. It's like, be a little patient. Your mind moves so quickly, and we let our mind kind of control us. We've got to
absolutely.
yeah, we've got to respect that whole process of slow down, just get in a habit of going, what else don't I know?
Hmm.
What else? My grandmother used to say, believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see. And even half of what you see, we can get in trouble. It's like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, that the number one thing for assumptions is to know it's an assumption, and then replace that with I wonder, because it's okay to wonder, it's okay to think, it's okay to imagine, as long as we don't assume it's the truth.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things that you've spoken about in some of your other webinars too is intention, that the intention that you have and that your colleagues have says a lot about where all of that comes from. Do you want to touch on that just really quick?
Yeah, because if again, you said it earlier, like it all kind of flows when you've got your grit together, so to
Yeah.
speak. So your intention happens like in your truth, kind of in that area. You're aware of, is my intent to help, or is it to hurt? Is it to help, or am I so agitated and I'm so overwhelmed with things that I'm not really in my truth, and I'm not behaving in as aligned to me. I have become reactionary, and I'm no longer really, this isn't me anymore, this is reactionary me, this is stressed out me, this is.
Right.
And so yeah, it's so important that we are aware of our intent, and if our intent isn't in the right place, that's just a great opportunity to go, okay, take a breath, step back, what's
Mhm.
really important here, go back to your truth, align to that, and then you're able to more clearly say, okay, that could be an assumption, I'm reacting to emotions. And again, I'll say this again because it's so important that we don't think, oh, we've got to be perfect at this, we're supposed to be emotionless or something. No, we're human beings,
Right.
stuff's going to happen. These are tools to help us when stuff happens. It's not about being flawless.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great connection. And so speaking of being flawless, we talked about this when we were preparing for this webinar. One of my severe pain points is I'm very controlling. And so when I delegate a task to somebody else, I have certain assumptions about how I expect that to come back to me. So how can I use respect to learn to delegate tasks and really let go of the outcome and trust them that they're going
Yeah,
to execute it in the right way and, get my
that's
type A
such a good one.
personality out of the way a little bit.
I know. I love when we started talking about this, and I love this topic because a lot of people do have some, control issues, and it's because usually there's a good intent behind it. It's like,
Right.
I want it to be perfect. It's not. I don't trust you. It's not.
Right.
It's just I really want it to be perfect. It's
Yes.
very hard for me to let it go, and. So I'm going to talk a little bit first about making sure that people are ready to be delegated to, because
Mhm.
a lot of times what happens in our past is we may give people something to do, a project or something, and they might not be ready, either willing or able. to take that project on. And I can't, I don't have enough time in this webinar to get in depth with it, but there's more to it too, depending on their DISC style and your DISC style, which is the personality style stuff for people who don't know DISC. There's some different ways that gets even more challenging, but just making sure that somebody knows, they know how to do this task enough, and their confidence is up, they're willing to do it. So we've got to make sure they're there first, because if they're not, they shouldn't be delegated to. It's a training or a coaching issue, and that's situational leadership. We're not going to get into that on this webinar, like I said, but just we'll say that they're ready. What we've got to be able to do is switch our mindset about it, because what is the biggest purpose of delegating this work? So from a management standpoint, there's two things that managers should be thinking about. The one that they're probably going to think about first, and you and I are probably going to think about first as business owners, is I just need to get it done.
Yeah.
Need to get it done. Need to get this done. There's only one me.
Right.
I got to spread this out, and this work has to get done.
Yeah.
That's a management kind of task and a management way of looking at things, and it's important. But what we often neglect is the leadership component behind it. Because if we're truly thinking about how do I empower other people, give them an opportunity to learn and grow and stretch, give them an opportunity to get engaged and really think and problem solve, and yes, make a mistake and fail at times. That takes patience, and it takes, but for most of us, and Maureen, I can so relate to what you're talking about, because I'll still today get hung up on that myself, and stepping back and going, okay, what is really important here? And I'm not saying that a business owner should be going, oh, I'm, just going to let everybody learn on my dime kind of thing. It's not about that. Remember what I said earlier, they've got to know how to do it and be willing and able to do it. And then it's a delegation thing. So if that's the case, then we've got to switch our thoughts and beliefs about that, that task, that end product, all of it, and some of it is just a leap of faith to go, I respect this person enough. I hired them. I know they're able to do this. I'm going to have to get a little more comfortable with being, letting this go and actually being uncomfortable with the whole process, and just being disciplined enough to let yourself do it, so it's not that it's ever going to be easy for certain personalities. You and I are very similar DISC styles. We're DI, and it's, we're fast paced. We just want to get stuff done. It's quicker to do it ourselves than somebody else do it, all that kind of stuff. And so it's really important. What drives our actions is our thoughts and our beliefs. And if we keep thinking, I can do it faster myself, I can do it better myself, oh, is it ever going to get done on time? If that's in the back of our mind, that's going to drive us crazy. We're not going to let go. But if we change that, and how you change that is simply, I call it positive brainwashing. Just tell yourself, this person can do this. I hired them because they can do it. They may, do it different than me. It might even be more awesome than me. And they're going to learn and grow and stretch and, and kind of put that in our mindset, because then we're going to relax into it and be able to let go. And another thing I love to tell myself is, you got more important things to do, Lori, so let it go. Get your attention on something else, let it go. Be willing, though, to, just like we have talked about in other webinars, it's important for a leader to self-reflect. It's also very important for a leader, manager, business owner to sit down with that person and debrief. What went right? What went wrong? And you don't have to do that full debrief every time, but just make sure there's a little bit of feedback so that person has an opportunity to learn and grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great advice. And you're right. All of that comes from inside. And I know that that's a cornerstone for a lot of what you talk about. And so if there's anybody who's listening to this and thinking that they can't get past that, or their team can't get past that. I mean, I know that you are here to share value and help, but I know that you also have retreat tools for teams and things like that that can really help people
Yeah.
if they can't get beyond that. Do you want to talk about those couple different types while we
Yeah, yeah. I know some of the participants I was looking down through, and I could see some of them have been in some of my classes before. So we definitely provide group training. We come onto your work site and do like my Lead with Grit program is hands down my favorite, as well as I get the best testimonials from that because it's about 3 days. We can schedule it different ways. It doesn't have to be 3 consecutive days, but it really helps people, leaders, managers, supervisors, C-suite, to take a look inside and then be able to make some of these shifts and stuff. And we get into things very hands-on things like coaching and delegating and giving and receiving feedback and
Mhm.
helping the team to transition and change. And some clients I've worked with choose to just go through executive coaching. It's like they want to lead that team themselves, and they need to be.
Yeah.
And it's only one person that needs it. And so we'll put together a very customized executive coaching program that has a little bit of training component in it to help you with some of the tools, and a lot of coaching behind it to help you just get out of your own way, because most of us have it inside of us, and it's just like you and I were talking about. It's like we need to shift our thoughts and beliefs, or we need to
Mhm.
tweak it a little bit here or there, and when we do, we see a huge difference in not only our own stress level and
Right.
what we're doing, but we also see our teams start to really respond differently and become
Mhm.
way more highly engaged.
Yep.
So those two things are huge that people can take advantage of. And then there's also a lot of disc tools. We have team assessments and stuff like that. I won't get into all of that. I don't want this to become a sales pitch or anything, but we do want you to know what's out there and what's available for you. It's
Mhm.
should you need some outside help.
Yeah. And we'll be sure to share the link to Lori's resource library too, which has a lot of free tools in there for one-to-one meetings and all sorts of high value activities, worksheets, and things like that that can help too in terms of, kind of the workflow for teams like that. So that's on lorisudbrink.com. We'll share the link with this
And
video.
I just say I want to come back to that self-respect thing just for a
Mhm.
moment,
Yeah.
because the monumental truth of respect in the workplace is all about starting with you. It's all about what happens with your team and with your relationships and with your life, quite frankly, is a result of what you put out there. And what we put out there is a result of what we have inside. And
Yeah.
so it's all connected. And I can't stress enough that knowing ourselves, accepting ourselves, staying in alignment, and using some of these tools like the high value activities
Yeah.
and things like that in the resource library really will impact your self-respect, your ability to respect others. And then, as we're going to get into next month, how you can be authentically and very, I'm going to say effortlessly, be able to give of yourself
Mhm.
without sacrificing yourself or burning out and things like that.
Right, right. Yeah, that's great. Look forward to that. So that will be in early July. We'll share that date soon. Lori, thank you so much for all. This is one of my favorite topics, and for me, really hit home with a lot of this stuff. So thanks as always for sharing your
That's
time,
great. Thank you,
and
Maureen.
appreciate everyone, adapting with these technical difficulties with us. So we'll see everybody.
Yeah, and people have been sending, a few people here and there have been sending me some private messages for feedback and stuff, for
Mhm.
topics, stuff like that. I really welcome that. I encourage it. I love to, just take some topics that you're interested in. We're going to be creating more and more videos, and we'll be getting feedback on those as well. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Lori.
Okay, bye.
Bye.